All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really powerful framework for living a more meaningful life, and it comes from A Guide to Human Conduct. And look, this isn't just some abstract, high-level philosophy. This is a practical, hands-on guide for navigating both our inner and outer worlds with a real sense of purpose. So let's just kick things off with a huge question. We all think we know what it means to be a good person, right? We try to be honest, we try not to hurt people. But what if that's just scratching the surface? What if that's only the very beginning of the journey? And right here, this is the core idea that kind of flips everything on its head. This guide tells us that morality isn't the finish line. It's not the goal. It's the starting block. It's the launch pad. It's the solid foundation you have to build before you can even start doing the real work of personal and spiritual growth. See, here's the thing. Being good isn't some static state you achieve. It's not a trophy you put on the shelf. It's this active, dynamic force, a constant balancing act. The source material puts it perfectly. The person who can resist a small temptation might totally fold when faced with a huge one. Real, lasting strength has to come from something much, much deeper. Okay, so this whole framework is built on two simple, really elegant pillars. First, you've got Yama. That's all about how we deal with the world around us, our actions, our relationships. And second, you've got Niyama, which is all about our inner game, how we cultivate our inner world. So let's dive into that first pillar. All right, so we're starting with Yama. This covers 5 principles that are basically our social blueprint, how we show up in the world and interact with others. But, and this is a big but, what most people think these principles mean barely scratches the surface. This is where it gets really interesting. Yeah, we're basically going to do some myth busting here. Because, over time, a lot of these ideas have gotten a little twisted, a little confused, and honestly, kind of impractical. So it's time to get back to their true, powerful meanings. First one up is ahimsa, or non-harming. Now, the key thing to get right away is just how broad this is. We're talking by thought, word, or action, so it goes way beyond just physical stuff. But this is exactly where the biggest misunderstanding comes in. People think it just means being totally passive. And bam, this is where we just blow that myth right out of the water. True ahimsa is not about being a doormat. It's not about passive nonviolence when you're staring down injustice. It's about having the strength, the courage, the heroism to actually use force to defend against an aggressor and protect what's right. The source is crystal clear. To avoid that fight isn't virtue, it's cowardice. Next up, we have Satya. Now, most people just translate this as truth, but that's not the whole story, not even close. See, the source makes a distinction between arta, which is just stating a fact, and satya. Satya is all about using your words and your mind with the intention of welfare. The impact on others is what really counts. And this quote just nails it. It shows you how important this is. Without this welfare-based truth, there is no righteous living, no dharma. So think about it. If blurting out a fact is just going to cause a bunch of needless harm, that's not satya. This spirit of welfare is always the guiding light. And that idea of welfare leads us right into our next concept, Asteya, or non-stealing. But again, we're going way deeper than just, shoplifting. The source breaks it down into these 4 fascinating layers. You've got the obvious physical theft. But then there's psychic theft, just the act of planning to steal. And then, and this is the really big one, depriving others of what they are rightfully due, both physically and mentally. Here's a perfect modern-day example that makes this click. Traveling on a train without a ticket, or cheating on your taxes. You aren't stealing from one specific person's pocket, are you? But you are depriving the collective, the system, society, of its due. It's a subtle but really powerful way of looking at theft against the community. Now for probably the most misunderstood principle of them all, Brahmacarya. The common myth is that it just means strict celibacy. But the source is emphatic that this is a complete misinterpretation. The true meaning is so much bigger, so much more profound. It's about remaining attached to the cosmic consciousness, about viewing every single thing as an expression of that divine whole. And this original quote in Sanskrita really solidifies that true meaning. It's about a state of mind, a constant way of seeing the world. It's not some unnatural physical restriction. It's about completely transforming your perception, shifting from seeing crude matter to seeing expressions of the infinite in everything. The final principle of Yama is aparigraha. And in a nutshell, this just means not indulging in stuff that's superfluous to keeping you alive and well. It's about living simply and taking only what you really need. But, and this is so important, this is not about punishing yourself or becoming some kind of ascetic. The motivation here is social, it's compassionate, it's a conscious choice, an active fight to reduce your own excess out of a real sympathy and concern for people who have less. It's about fairness. Okay, so we've covered our external conduct with Yama. Now we've got to turn inward to the second pillar, niyama. These are the principles that help us build our internal discipline. Because, let's be honest, a strong outer life has to be supported by a stable, strong inner world. So, here they are, the 5 principles of niyama at a glance. We've got purity, contentment, service, study, and surrender. Let's dig into the core ideas behind these powerful internal tools. First up is shauka, or purity, and it has 2 sides. There's the external stuff, keeping your body, your clothes, your space clean. That's pretty straightforward. But the real work, the hard work, is internal purity. It's about actively cleaning out all the mental dirt, like jealousy, ego, and greed. And what's the best tool for that job? Selfless action. And the other principles just build right on this foundation. Santosha is about finding contentment and peace exactly where you are, freeing you from that exhausting, endless chase for more. Tapa, another one people get wrong, isn't self-punishment. It's about willingly taking on hardship for a cause greater than yourself. It's sacrifice with a noble purpose. And swadhyaya isn't just about reading books. It's about deep study to truly get their inner meaning and bring that wisdom into your life. So after going through all 10 of these principles, you gotta ask, what's the end game? Where is all of this leading? Well, I can tell you it's about something way, way bigger than just being a good person. The really crucial takeaway here is that Yama and Niyama are not just a restrictive list of do's and don'ts. No way. They are a complete, integrated system. They work together like a practical technology for real, profound, personal, and spiritual transformation. And this quote just beautifully captures that final destination. The point isn't to just force yourself not to steal. It's to reach a state of being where the very desire to steal has just vanished. It's about a fundamental transformation of your inner world, leading you to a state of oneness where all that negativity simply cannot exist. So as we finish up, I want to leave you with this question. Because this isn't just theory, right? It's a call to action. Looking at all 10 of these principles, which one of them really resonates with you? Which one could you start actively practicing, even in a very small way, to bring just a little more balance and harmony into your life starting today?